Welcome to the Peasant's Guide to Deck Building. This is going to be a simplified guide about how to build decks if, like me, you're not just kinda dumb, but also kinda poor. I'm going to cover how to pick a deck and the basic rules of how to build it optimally. Maybe it'll teach you something new, maybe it'll just be a funny review. Whatever the case, let's get started.
Types versus Archetypes pitfall.
Like many card games, Yu-Gi-Oh cards have basic types and attributes assigned to them. They're usually pretty straightforward. For example, Lava Dragon is a fire dragon, but not Magma Dragon. That's a fire worm. Not to be confused with worms, who are of course reptiles. Is this Crocodile Dragon a reptile or a dragon? Neither. This is a fish.
Sakana!
A big mistake I've seen some players make is trying to build their deck solely around these characteristics. Things like making a fire deck or a warrior deck. For better or worse, Yu-Gi-Oh has segregated their entire card base into archetypes that don't necessarily mix and match very well. For example, Old Dark Magician, New Dark Magician, Magician Girls, and Magician of Chaos don't really play together very well at all, despite having matching types and themes. While many archetypes in the TCG have some synergies with each other, like Bird Up. Between archetype restrictions, skill conditions, and deck size, you don't find these combinations as often in Duel Links as you do in other formats. But sometimes you do.
Picking your deck.
Before we build a deck, we gotta know what deck we're building. What deck is that? Well, I've said before that if you're a new player, you won't really know. So to help you out, I've made a checklist of 5 things that you need to think about when choosing a deck. What playstyle do you like? What aesthetic do you like? How much do you like winning? How much time and money are you willing to spend? And finally, how much do you like yourself? You need to take all of these, put them in your order of importance, and then find a deck that best fits all those descriptions. Do you like to win? Pick whatever's here. Do you like to win, but also like having time and money? Pick the cheapest of whatever's here. Don't care about winning and just want to play as small woodland creatures? You sound like a Melfi player. Do you not like winning, love spending money, and hate yourself? Dark Worlds is the deck for you. At the very least, knowing how you feel about these 5 things can help others help you.
Deck core.
Now that we have a deck chosen, you need to find out what your deck core looks like. What's a deck core? A deck core is the minimum amount of cards you need from an archetype to play that archetype optimally. This can be as big as your entire deck, yeah, you pendulum players, or as small as 5 cards. If you look at the deck breakdown section of the Duel Links meta website, you can get a good idea of how yours might look like. Here's what Red Eyes looks like. Number of copies of each card, percentage of decks that run this amount. You can, of course, tweak these values, but make sure you know why. Red Eyes Insight is at 3 because it's basically the best card in the deck. You can run less of them, but your deck will almost always be objectively worse from doing so. Vanilla Red Eyes is also at 3, and while that might seem a bit odd at first, since the skill allows you to send it back for Red Eyes Spell and Trap, and Red Eyes Fusion still lets you use it as material from your hand, having 3 is okay, because opening 1 or 2, it's not like the end of the world. If you find yourself always opening 2 or more, maybe you want to run less of them, like this guy. If you're not sure why certain ratios are a certain way, just try tweaking them and see how it goes. Nothing will teach you about 2 Miracle Fusions more than opening your only copy 10 games in a row.
Deck engines.
Some deck cores are so compact, powerful, and unrestricted that they can be drag and dropped into just about anything. These are called deck engines, and we will cover them another time. Just know that in Duel Links, Konami hates them.
Tech cards.
The next ingredient of a deck list are tech cards. Put simply, these are your back row, hand traps, and back row removals. The deck you're playing and the other decks in the format determine which of these you want to put in. If you're lucky enough to have some of these cards with 3s on them, and your deck doesn't have any 3s in it, you're gonna want to put these in. They're really good. If your deck is really easy to disrupt, like having a single choke point, you're gonna want to put in more back row removal. If your deck has trouble setting up a good board going first, then you're gonna want to put in more back row. If you hate graveyard effects with a passion, then you're gonna want to put in more of these. Since deck cores are usually pretty standard, your tech choices can often make or break your deck, so choose wisely.
Card ratios.
The majority of deck building is deciding how much of each card to put in. To help with this, you can categorize every card in the game into basically 3 types of cards. Things you always want in your hand, things you sometimes want in your hand, and things you never want in your hand. Things you always want in your hand consist mainly of searchers, combo starters, and skill-mandated cards. These are your scrap recyclers, your pendulum calls, your Gaia the Magical Knights, and for whatever reason, your free Dark Magician normal summons.
With no monsters left on the field, I summon Dark Magician. Declare direct attack. Ah, you got me.
If you start with one of these, your game is going to be playable, so generally, you run these at 3 copies. Things you sometimes want in your hand usually consist of your tech cards and your combo extenders. You'll want to open with your back row if you're going first, and your back row removal if you're going second. Combo extenders can be nice if you're trying to play through disruption or push for game, but not always necessary. Usually, you run these at 2 to 3 copies and just pray that you have the ones you need at the right time. Lastly, we've got cards that you never want to open. These consist of your searchables and your garnets. A lot of these cards are okay to open in your hand in that they won't be completely unplayable. Things like Red Eye's Fang with Chain and those of the like will usually be run at 1 copy since they can be searched but also opened without consequence. However, there are some situations that require cards to be inside the deck, like Overdrive Teleporter summoning Psychic monsters or Sunrise searching Miracle Fusion. For this reason, you usually find these run at 2, so you're not at risk of opening your only copy.
Extra deck.
Your extra deck is built pretty similarly to your regular deck. Most of the cards will be part of your deck core, and the rest of them will be text to help you out in common situations. Roach and Abyss Dweller will help you deal with inherent summons.
What the hell is that?
And graveyard effects, if you can make them. The Nightmares can help with some extra card removal if you happen to have some extra resources on the field. And this dude helps you not get Ibleed. Thanks, Link Disciple.
How big should I make it?
The old answer to this used to always be as little as possible. If you're not running a ton of garnets in your deck, having a smaller deck size would maximize the chance of starting with one of your openers in hand. This is mostly still true. However, these days, between the number of searchers and consistency skills we have in the game, we've got some people running 30-card monstrosities without any drawbacks. So, run as many cards as you'd like, so long as you can still consistently play the game.
Summary.
This has been my very simplified overview to deck building. These are the general rules, but you'll often find decks that break these rules completely. So the most important lesson that I can give you guys today is to know the rules and, more importantly, know when to break them. If you like these dumb crash course tutorials or problematic deck reviews, you can check out some of my other videos. Other than that, thank you folks for watching and have a great day.